Good afternoon. It's awesome to be in San Antonio, isn't it? I remember being here 8 years ago for a conference. That was my first conference. You all scared me to death. I was like, what have I gotten myself into? But I realized very quickly how awesome you were. And it's great to be back and celebrate you as leaders, and thank you as leaders, and it's awesome to be together. 9 years ago was my first introduction at LLC, and I got to share my vision, and you all were like, who is this guy that's not one of us, that's coming into CMAA and is gonna help us advance? Well, that's the beauty of associations. Just as you would not hire one of your members to run your club, you would hire a professional. It's the same for the association. And associations run deep for me and are very critical to our world and our economy. And I want to go back 22 years. On this date, I was supposed to be in the World Trade Center for a board meeting for our association, which at that time I was working for a Wall Street association. Burt Ward was 3 blocks from the World Trade Center when the towers collapsed. But the message is not about 9/11. The message is about associations. On that date, we sent the staff home, and we realized that we probably lost members in the World Trade Center. Ultimately, it was several hundred. But the financial markets needed to come back. And so we went to work. And a few days later, 2 days, I went back into the office in DC, about 4 blocks from the White House. There were Humvees and military on every single street corner. Sobering. We pieced together the markets, and it's a story of America. But now flip forward to the pandemic. You all did the same thing during the pandemic. We suffered this cataclysmic event, but you all focused on serving your members. And as an association and as membership, we all came together, figured it out, and moved forward so you could serve your members to help them survive the pandemic and put yourself, many of you, in harm's way. How many of you have had COVID? Raise your hands. Probably got it at work, right? So associations, that community that we are all part of, is so vital to America, so vital to each of us. So thank you for spending time as leaders here, and thank you for what you do to help CMA grow and thrive. So with that, I want to talk about the association. As of the end of last month, we have some 7,000 members. I think the data here is interesting. 46 years is our average membership age. 36% of those professionals joined over the last 2 years. More than a third of our members are new. That is significant. That is telling. That puts a huge amount of responsibility on each of us to make sure the next generation of club professionals become part of that community and understand what we do and understand how we support each other. 30% of professional members are female. Ironically, now that we're going to have 4 female board members, 30% of our board is female. So we're finally at that point. It's been a long journey to get there. 39% of those coming into the association since 2021 are female. So we have more women coming in to the profession than men. So I think this data is important. Here's a chart you can see of all how we've grown, and my thanks goes to our chapters, our managing directors, you as board members. CMA National is the benefactor of all the work that you do as you grow the membership. So thank you, because this is truly an effort by all the chapters. Indeed. Like many of you, like many organizations, we had a V-shaped recovery due to the pandemic. But you can almost cut out that V and draw a line, and we've continued our journey of growing and serving all of you in a profitable way. In the nonprofit world, we don't really say we have profit, we have a net excess. And we need that net excess because we need to continue to build reserves for the association, which we're not there, but we're a lot closer than we were 9 years ago. Every year, we have goals that the board and the executive committee give us, or we discuss and partner together to tie into our strategic plan. At this meeting, I usually go through those goals, and then when I come forward at conference, you get more of a compacted version of that. So let's talk about those goals for this year. One was to work closer with NCA, and thanks to NCA's invite, Luke, I know you're here somewhere, who is chair of NCA. Luke, where are you? There you are. Thank you for your leadership at NCA. Tim Musil, or Tim, you here? I know I saw Tim earlier. I think he had calls. Tim was the chairman of the governance task force of NCA, and the board and the governance task force invited CMA in to create this governance book. Hopefully you all have copies of that. It's available on the CMA website. Tomorrow, Joe Traeger is hopefully going to be here. We're not exactly sure. He has some family matters, but we're going to get up and talk about that. And Joe Kren, who is on our board, was integral with that, as well as many others in the room as I look around, John Schultz and onward. Verified internship program was launched last at conference in Orlando. It is going well, and I'm hoping that if you have an internship program, you will look at the verified internship program at CMA. It has a bunch of characteristics that you need to meet in order to be part of it, and the goal is to ultimately create a internship experience that is the best for our interns, but yet gives you the ability to craft it in a way that you want. And we think that over the next few years, those that look for internships will gravitate to the verified internship program. So if you've not looked at it, please do so. Another goal was, how can we get closer to the faculty, particularly the hospitality faculty? I became part of an ICRE, which is their association task force, and I attended their conference and actually spoke as part of a panel in July. The hospitality university faculty area is under tremendous stress. Universities are struggling with the increase in cost of running a university, the increase in tuition. They're trying to figure it out. The faculty is struggling. More and more faculty are coming in teaching hospitality and other subjects without really having that knowledge. So they really want it given to them so that they can turn around and teach it in a way that they don't have to be professionals or they don't have to be experts on it. So it puts more responsibility on all of us to try to figure out a way to help the faculty understand club management, as well as ensure that the students come in and see clubs. One thing that I learned was the Marriotts and the Hyatts are all starting with activities with the students in freshman year, and even going back into high school, to draw them in and basically lock them in to a career before they even go through their college experience. So it is becoming very competitive. We continue to try to figure out how we can improve that and how we can help our faculty as well as help our students see the value of being in clubs. We continue to want to upgrade and add to our summit experiences. And one of the focuses that we've heard loud and clear is let's do more in human resources. It's such a critical thing coming out of COVID. It's probably one of your top challenges is the whole evolution of staffing. So in looking at it, we decided that it was best to not necessarily reinvent an experience, but club benchmarking had picked up an experience that they were doing that already has a community around it. And as part of a negotiation with club benchmarking, we picked up the HR symposium that we'll do next year. You may have seen we also have a new relationship with club benchmarking, and so that was one of our goals, and we're excited by it. Club benchmarking will still be heavily involved. Another of our goals was to look at where we were with CSFA, the Club Spa and Fitness Association. It was an association that had been running separately, and then we picked up management of it, and ultimately they became one of our organizations. And in looking at it, it just didn't make sense to have the extra cost of overhead to have a separate association. At the same time, we were looking at, is there a way we can serve the professionals in clubs that may not want a full CMA membership? And so we created communities. And our first communities was to take CSFA and evolve it in the club wellness community. And then we also took communications and the club chefs and started communities there. So with that, there's an online networking forum. There is a summit, and for a little bit over $100, you can join these communities. So it's a way to give your professionals a home. We see an HR community coming later on next year. Another goal was to develop a capital projects funding white paper. Joe Kren and his folks, Joe Kren led that, and as well as some of his staff, and that is coming out over the next 6 months, if not sooner. It'll come out as we do another summit, but something that all of us, as we have capital projects, will use this as a document to help make sure that we're on target when we think of how we can access capital for our project. DEI has been a big focus or a big discussion area, and that discussion is really, and DEI comes in lots of different tastes and flavors. We just talked about women a second ago. If we look at African Americans, Hispanic, white, we're reaching a point over the next 10 years where half the population in the United States is going to be non-white. How do we make sure all those folks see clubs as a place where they can look to start a career and end a career? And so we used a company to help us give some benchmarks, and it wasn't to tell us whether we're bad or good, but help to come up with some tactics. And these are some charts from this. I want to share a couple nuggets that I thought were pretty cool. One is looking at how, and purposely focusing on recruiting diverse candidates. There's lots of different tactics to do that. One of the ways is to look at job descriptions, and are we biased in our job descriptions? You know, and so there are ways to look at that and say, hey, let's make this so somebody that reads it isn't going to say, that job's not for me. Another way is to utilize several third-party aggregators or websites that aggregate jobs and make sure we cover the population. Lastly, some of the things that clubs are doing internally are having more and more discussion about diversity and understanding diversity and celebrating it, as well as going out into the community and serving underserved populations. All of this helps us to expose clubs to the community and outside our walls, and is important. Contemporary club management, my update for that is we have started the project of rewriting. It's going to take a couple years. We are now out from, or will be within the next week or so, out from under the National Restaurant Association. Those of you that don't know the story here, somewhere in the past, we split copyright between CMA and a nonprofit, and that nonprofit was absorbed by the National Restaurant Association. And so we haven't been able to touch the book because of the copyright issues, and have been going back and forth of, do we start a new book or can we update the current book? And so we are now at a point where we've reached an agreement with them and are starting the process of updating it. We've added some staff at professional development. Dawn, if you've not met Dawn, is going to lead this under Jason's oversight, and some of you may be asked to be chapter authors, so hopefully you'll be receptive to that. Retirement and financial coaching was a goal for 2023. Those of you that participated in conference, we had a full house for our 401k MEP provider, Dennis, who did some financial planning with folks that attended, and he had all his slots were full. So we served that purpose. We will continue that and look for other ways that we can help you as you go through your career and do some financial planning. We have lots of thoughts there, and it's just a matter of continuing down that path. One of our goals is learning management system. It is a piece of technology that helps to create a learning environment that would integrate with all our other systems. We've been thinking about this for a couple years. We thought we would get out of the gate this year. We did not, because of some other things, including the discussion of our data and research and moving to club benchmarking and our club resource center and the like, as well as getting staff fully staffed in professional development. So we now can refocus on this in a little bit of a different way and look to continue to upgrade this. As you know, you need to continue to focus on how you're using your systems, because for us, that is one of our core base building things that we use to serve you. Mid-level management task force, Casey is the chair of that, and that has just gotten underway. And this is to look at, we just said we have all these new folks coming into club management. We know we're in a period of evolution as far as staff and the relationship with staff. Staff doesn't want to necessarily, they want work-life synergy. There's lots of demands there. So we want to focus on those mid-level managers, and Casey's going to lead that discussion, and she has a task force behind her, and you can see some of the goals of focus there. And over the next year, we're all looking forward to see what comes out of that task force. BMI Wine and Food Experience has been on a hiatus since right before the pandemic, and it has been relaunched thanks to Randy Reuter. Randy, where are you? Thank you, in the back. The next one is next month, a few weeks away, and it's sold out. And Randy, we so appreciate your leadership there to help us get BMI Food and Wine back. We had, ironically, a new strategic plan that was launched at the Texas conference in 2020, March, February. Then we had this pandemic and sort of blew up. Everybody's focus turned to operational needs. And so we decided, let's come back and relook at that strategic plan and update it. And so we used committee week for that focus, as well as the board meeting, and we're going to have some more discussions on Wednesday with our board, and we'll have a new strategic plan that incorporates a lot of what was said in the speeches, if not all of it, and that'll be launched at conference next year. So that is our goals. I can't, and I know Luann's going to come up and talk about the Club Foundation, but I just want to show you a chart of how the money that you give to the Club Foundation is used. And the one that says industry initiatives, which is larger than normal, is because the DEI work has been funded by the Club Foundation. But you can see the scholarships, chapters, and where all the money goes. So we so appreciate all of you that are contributors to CF. We also appreciate our partners, because when a partner signs up to be a partner with CMAA, the funds that they give us, we take the cost of sales out of that and then split that money between CMAA and the Club Foundation. So a big portion of the money that these folks give ultimately ends up in the Club Foundation that benefits everybody. And that is key to sort of the dynamic of how we work with our partners. One of the things I get to do is talk about our theme for next year. We all know there's no place like CMA. That is our theme for next year. So the membership committee came up with that, so you as chapters get to utilize that all year, and I think it is a great theme. So with that, I am done, and usually we go into Q&A now, but because of the way we've rearranged things, we're going to continue on with our program, and then Michael and I will come up in a little bit, and we'll take any questions from the audience. So thank you all.